separate fights, and specifically keep Macau on that Tristana, the hyper carry in the late game, alive.
I mean, Tristana, she still has decent range as well as an AD carry, don't forget. I mean, how many times have we talked about Azir plus a hyper carry here? And it's hard to say exactly where Nutrist fits in as far as like late game carry potential goes, but you have to think it's pretty high on the list.
I mean, look, around World's time, she was definitely right up there with the best. Probably was the most reliable with the jump reset hyper carry in the game. With the changes, she's certainly not the late game hyper carry, the likes of maybe Jinx or Kog'Maw. She's probably in the second string, but her laning's, in fact, stronger than it was before in some ways, more reliable. The explosive shot does a lot of damage, especially if you get in there with the rocket jump, which you can do so aggressively in a 2v2 situation. And in general, her turret taking is actually even better than it used to be. A little bit more risky. You're not smashing it down from the 800 plus range that you were once before. But you can use that explosive shot on the turret and really DPS it down fast. So she has flexible options. In general, in terms of the laning phase against Urgot, still going to be a painful lane. But the burst trades, honestly, might actually go with Tristana, if she can avoid those awkward early trades. The same damage trades with the range advantage, going to go to Urgot. But all-in trades, I actually think Tristana has a realistic shot.
And that'd be super interesting to see that 2v2 lane play out. So I wonder if that's what we'll get here. I mean, they did pick it away. Probably figured that Urgot was going to go to the AD carry position. So you have to think in some ways might have been a counter pick.
You know, they already flashed the Vladimir previously. It did feel like it was going to be a 2v2 Urgot. There is always the potential they're going to look for a lane swap because any Urgot lane, honestly, is very painful to navigate. The level 1 will be fascinating, but I'm really interested to see as we load into a pause, unfortunately.
Yep, not quite interesting yet, unfortunately, as we do have a quick pause to start this game off here, fingers crossed. But I agree. I think the 2v2 is highly interesting between these two teams here, especially in that bottom side of the map. So I wonder where we'll go next. In general, I love the draft from INTZ, Azir, Gragas. I mean, they just seem to have so many good tools for 5.7.
And look, one of the best champions at punishing melee champions is the Azir. Fits the comp because you can peel for the hyper carry, but in general, you're going to have to get in Sand Soldier range when you're any of these champions, honestly, on the side of Detonation. You've got such short range in general from these members. They're all going to be taking Sand Soldier damage. You feel like if the Azir in particular gets big, it unsettles a lot of the teamfight advantages that Detonation are looking to cause. In terms of laning phase, Vladimir's actually a pretty decent matchup against the Azir. It's one of the matchups that really come through as Azir's shot up to prominence with the buffs on Patch 5.6, returning him to some of his former glory. Doesn't necessarily explode turrets like he used to, but in a lot of other ways, it's still the reliable disengage but high damage teamfight control mage. I said a lot of words there, but all of them relevant to Azir. And they're going to try and pitch. The Tristana's the big question mark, though, Patreon. That's why I'm so interested to see the eventual 2v2, whether it's from the start of the game, whether it's with a few levels, a few items in. Can Tristana actually opt into damage trades with an Urgot? Because that's information that I feel could influence other scenes and other tiers of play.
Absolutely. And the thing about Urgot, I guess, is that as far as early power goes, he does have a trough, weirdly enough, in the very early levels. But we are onto the Rift now. Finally, the pause has finished in our last game of the day here. INTZ from Brazil versus DetonatioN FocusMe from Japan. And again, both teams coming from a loss, wanting to pick up their first win.
Yeah, only one appearance apiece on the Rift. So both these teams trying to launch their fortunes for day 2 with an end-of-day victory. Multiple members and CC has piled into this brush. Astaroth has to be really careful.
Yes, and one, he does not want to face check a whole team here, but they will invade as 5 will INTZ now. Going to try and get some vision down as well. Going to, again, look for some of those trinkets going down. We'll see how deep they place the vision. Trinket goes down. They will take it out, so good reflexes there, identifying the ward and being able to clear it. And just some vision around the area. Going to get very good view of the red buff and the Krug area.
And interestingly, that even though multiple members went into the red side jungle of INTZ from DetonatioN FocusMe, no deep vision coming through, only the very shallow vision at the gank brush towards the outer turret of the outer turret of INTZ. So they don't have any real information or scouting. You'd have to think INTZ, with all their vision being committed to this red side, is looking for vertical jungling. And with the likes of Thresh and Tristana in the top lane, seems to be confirmed. They don't necessarily have to start at the enemy red buff, but you feel like Gragas is going to naturally path up there.
It seems like we won't get the answer maybe then about what does that 2v2 lane look like unless we already have movement actually from DetonatioN FocusMe wanting to come into the top side. They'll actually be 2v2 at level 1. Playback there as well. Yutapongo a little too low, but good damage there from the Asset Hunter. Kiting back wonderfully is forced to flash away, but now Kazu may be caught out of position as well. Again, still level 1, and Doxter might back away. Has to be careful. He's going to get low. Asadota comes in, does tag him, but not quite enough for the kill, and it's very close as Sion dies, but he'll be fine. It's just taking a camp.
So much crazy 2v2 action before the minion lines even break. Urgot, level 1. You mentioned it just at the tail end of that champ select, does struggle at level 1 when he can't really control waves, where he's really prone to being pushed in. And it was just the burst damage coming through from the explosive shot at level 1. Fully charged. There's the flash.
Oh my god, Gragas up here as well. Revolta wants to try and make something happen, but gank goes a miss. Flashes are burnt, and very early level 2 pressure comes through. Gragas, I think, took one small camp and then ganked.
Somehow the framing of that actually made it even more intense as Gragas flew into the shot, flashed in, canceled the auto, didn't have enough damage. I feel like Udapon was actually healthier than we might have expected after using both a couple of potions. Of course, went for the longsword, so didn't necessarily have the high level 1 base health, but probably had more regen than INTZ expected.
Yeah, looking fine right now, and I'm pretty sure Gragas ganked without having a single buff, so hyper-aggressive level 2 gank there from Gragas, and you can see teams want to try and keep this star AD carry down, because there's a reason he was named the MVP for this season of the LGL.
I mean, he's a playmaker, and from level 2, we already saw that. It looks like they're going to make the late invade to the enemy red, but going to be completely taken by the Scuttle Crab until he does.
Yeah, in the mid lane now as well, Seras versus Tokas is good trade there coming through for Seras, who again has shown very strong prowess in lane in particular in a lot of these matchups. And right now on Vlad, bullying Azir actually is kind of out of mana.
Exactly. He's committed too much of his mana already, so just looking to push the wave in and look for a chance to back. That's the big thing that Azir was looking for there. No need to opt into any trades. He's in the top lane.
First blood does come through for Trist. They were able to finally get the kill, and Urgot, who was looking a little low there, finally succumbs to Tristana.
I mean, the 2v2, it seems to work. It seems like the Tristana, specifically with all the changes, you can see 2 points in explosive shot, 1 point in rocket jump, so nothing's changed in terms of skill order. But the burst damage coming through, remember, you do 20% more damage if you explode the explosive shot with the rocket jump. So that the damage can be just surprising, and with heal down, with no potions, that's the result.
Let's see it again here as well. Kazu has to be careful. Macau might fancy himself diving in, but does not commit right now. And that was through some, early summoner's burn meant that first blood was able to be lined up quite easily there. And impressive stuff from the Tristana early on.
And a really awkward first buy is just the Sapphire Crystal. So no combats. That's not even building towards that Mana Moon in terms of stacking up the tier. Just offering nothing in the trades apart from a little bit of extra mana sustain. You feel like with Explosive Shot being the max both for pushing and for harassment reasons, as in the bot lane.
Yeah, Bond's in trouble. Going to get dove here. Yang actually taking up the turret, and Revolta, level 3, is going to dive in. Yang will fall to the turret there, so Sion gets credit for the kill. And Revolta might go down as well. Just got health from Happy Hour.
So close to being a misfire coming through. INTZ need to take this game a little bit more calmly as they went for the huge overextension on the turret dive. Lucky that the Maokai didn't have Twisted Advance available to drop aggro, just get any sort of CC onto either of the members, because there was a potential double kill lined up there.
Yeah, almost took it away there, did Bonzin, but we'll just be happy with the trade now instead as we look in the mid lane. Lots of double items coming through. Double Dorans actually for Tokas, and double Ampto moving into Hextech Revolver for Seros. So this game, it's already pretty aggressive. 3 kills in almost 6 minutes as Tokas forced to flush away. A good bit of pressure from Sejuani.
He just tried to use the mobility in his kit and actually interrupted that with the Sejuani being in melee range as he looked to hop over. So forced to use the flash. Suddenly this laning phase gets that much more tricky. Against Sejuani, we often see these Azirs and the control mages in general opting for the summon spell cleanse, but it's only the heal. Suddenly looking like a pretty tasty target for Asta Raw on the Sejuani.
Yeah, he's level 5 now as well, been jungling quite nicely, just farming up a storm basically. You can see just that in the CS difference between the junglers so far. So going to be 6 fairly soon. We'll maybe look to mid lane for that gank, just like you mentioned, and Seros getting ahead in this lane. 10 CS up already on the Vladimir.
I mean, the big concern that Tristana went back, didn't even need to buy a potion, just went straight for the BF sword. You worry for Urgot. I mean, we predicted, we forecast just with what we know about the kits that Tristana might start to win these all-in trades, and honestly, they're looking pretty tasty for Mikau, and the lane's pushing against Udapon.
Yeah, it's just going from bad to worse, unfortunately, for the Detonation FocusMe duo lane here. But Mikau going to keep clearing away, going to explosive shot the way there just to AoE it down a little bit more. And again, strong CS so far from the Trist, and that early Snowball BF sword. If she can keep going here, this little Buccaneer, the Snowball can get out of control on the top side.
Udapon should actually tab over to the item, see no sustain, and look for some harassment, because that damage will be sticky. No sustain coming through from the Thresh, but it looks like he doesn't want to open himself up to a death sentence. Already respecting the burst potential from Mikau because of the item disadvantage. Has only built up mana with his subsequent purchases after the level 1. So trade stats definitely not working in his advantage.
Morgana actually going to eat a hook there, and a teleport will get cancelled there. And Maokai, who might have suspected a dive there, so very defensive, and INTZ will back away as a result. But unfortunately now for Maokai, no teleport if they do it again.
Yeah, I mean, Revolta was actually spotted by a ward, so it probably wasn't the worst channel of the teleport, but punished just from the lack of engage coming through. A wasted cooldown, but doesn't look like it's going to be punished just yet.
Yeah, and as we look through here, 1,000 gold almost up now. The INTZ built up.
There's the Gragas.
Yeah, good binding coming through. Gragas now moving in as well. The Black Shield that's good enough, but Mikau diving in aggressively. Actually takes the turret in. Ku moves in there as well, but now Silence going to dive in towards the turret. Udapongo in trouble now. Revolta flashes forward, finally gets the kill. Jockster tanking turret aggro, but he'll get out as well. And it's all out aggression from the Brazilians, and they've gotten 3 kills already.
I was going to say, it feels like we're learning about the aggression of the Brazilian scene. They really disregard those turret shots. Multiple people fall into within 1 turret shot of death. Vladimir actually ghosted towards top, trying to become involvement in any of the kills. Binding hits.
Good binding there. Lantern available. Revolta can't quite make it. No. Does get there in the end and able to get to safety.
It goes for the Dark Passage ride. So Ghost is down for no particular advantage. The lane is pushed in, so the Vladimir is punished in more ways than one. And it's only really a bit of CS and some minion waves being pushed in for Maokai, which are now going to be hoovered up by the Tristana.
Yeah, Trist happily taking away the waves. And you mentioned aggression. We're almost literally doubling down here for Mikau, because that BF soul was not enough. Boots one, and now double Doran's Blade on top of it as well.
And the only reason to opt into Doran's is for more fighting. You're going for early game stats rather than building into, say, a longsword for late game items like the Last Whisper, like the Bloodthirster, all items that this China eventually will opt into. Instead goes the ultimate aggressive early game item build. Even against a Maokai who's just going for sustain, going to be building up the Catalyst before too long. This is looking for early kills and early snowball.
And that's, again, so aggressive from the Tristana, so we'll see if the early purchases pay off with those Dorans. Yang now in the top side of the map as well on the side, looking fine on CS, but Maokai doing well as well here in Urgot. I mean, maybe happy, honestly, to get out of the Tristana lane.
I mean, to some degree, but opting into a Scion who always has so much ranged wave clear, has the sights on this. A swap.
Yeah, they are going to swap him back in. Yang now going to get aggressed on. Sejuani was waiting in the brush. No ultimate needed, and Udapongo picks up the kill.
It was actually very smart positioning from Detonation. They all stood on top of the model, ensuring there was no safe passage for the Scion, who would have instantly just collapsed into one of the members of Detonation FocusMe. Into trying to answer this with a dragon, not the world's fastest dragon, but with the minion damage cap increased on the Drunken Rage, I believe, during patch 5.5 or 5.6. Gonna eventually come down through the Gragas.
Yeah, pretty safe as well for Gragas, who's quite tanky there with the Drunken Rage active, and first dragon does indeed go over to INTZ.
They pick up that advantage. Looks like it's going to be a swap for the enemy blue buff, which, you know, Vladimir or Sejuani picking up the blue buff. Vladimir in particular picking up not really a big advantage. Sejuani maybe just picking up for a bit of power clearing, but not really a big thing to consider. And Mikau with the BF sword, I guess one thing we mentioned, not going to have a lot of kill pressure onto Maokai, especially without the Death Sentence landing, but throw on that bomb onto the turret, and suddenly the explosive shot's going to do just power down this turret.
Not thrown on there quite yet, but you can see Tristana working on that bottom turret quite hard here. It's almost down, as Tristana looks to continue her aggression, now swapping back to the bottom side. Back here in the mid lane, Sarah still looking good. 10 CS ahead there on the Vlad with his Fiendish Codex and a Hextech Revolver completed. But Tok is sitting just fine there with his double Doran's Charles, not really wanting anything other than to farm up with the Vladimir.
Exactly. Just happy to build towards the Athenes. I already mentioned would build this in the Urgot matchup. Just very core to the kit with the 30% mana restore that came through in recent patches. Actually forces out the teleport. Does Yang hard pushing this top lane on the Scion. trying to force the rotation back is a bit curious to me. I mean, rushing into a lane where you already were struggling against the Tristana after Dragon's gone down, there's no objective to fight down bottom. But I guess maybe it was just a timing situation as the trades, the tank battles go on.
Yeah, I mean, Sion, decent damage in trades, good skills that are AoE down the wave, but Revolta going to clear out some of the creeps as well. Dragon not quite back yet. The first one was taken a few minutes ago, so not able to look for that one either. Right now, just a lot of farming, but Tristana, you have to think's winning that war. Pickaxe now completed as well at 101, starting to get towards what could be quite a quick Infinity Edge.
Absolutely, and it already has all the peel from the likes of Gragas, Azir. The kit's really suiting the Tristana, so the Tristana snowballing just makes you very happy if you're an INTZ fan. Coming back actually for a moment to the Maokai, it's worth considering one change we didn't mention on 5.7 is that Sap Magic passive has been hit, so staying a little bit lower in lane, but once you have a Catalyst, the Doran Ring, and you start scaling up in levels, not really a relevant statistic to talk about.
No, it looks like Righteous Glory going to be the build here for Bonzen, giving the Crystal Embraces in the inventory there as well. Cinderhulk's completed for both junglers now as well to fit into their Trailblazers, so then enchantment completed there as well. A Brutalizer now for Urgot, going to make things a little bit better, but unfortunately just horribly behind in CS as well. That's almost 50 up for the Trist.
Yeah. 41 CS already. Now the turret's taken down as well. First turret of the game to go along with the first dragon they'd already claimed. And DetonatioN also have these scattered scalings where obviously Vladimir and Sejuani mostly opting into the late game to stack up health. So ability power and health respectively. Urgot erring towards the early game. Happy with the Hemo Plague, but definitely has a lower item ceiling. Will start building tanky at a point. And the Urgot in particular, their early game champion, is the one that's furthest behind, which is perhaps unsettles a lot of what this team comp does together.
Yeah, you have to think so. There is the blue buff gets stolen away as well. Revolta able to take that one away. Yang with the Frozen Heart done now as well. Getting quite tanky quite quickly on the Sion, you have to think. And Athene's not quite done yet for Tokka, still farming away. Vlad, same story actually, as neither mid lane has been back for a while. And Seros again, very strong early landing phase. He's pretty far ahead already. And you can see this mid lane is about 1,600, 1,800 gold apiece to go and spend. And I've been impressed once again by Seros' laning.
And you can see this Vladimir comp differs greatly from the one we saw in the previous game coming through from the Chiefs. They've got a very proactive CCing jungler in Sejuani. You've got CC from basically every other member of the team. We talked about how Nunu Vladimir, no pick potential. Basically everyone other than Vladimir has a massive pick potential. The Urgot being behind, though, that's the big question mark, is can Urgot still be relevant despite not even having a mana moon completed? Just the Brutalizer and a tier 14 minutes into the game.
Well, we'll have to see here as the mid laners do finally go back and spend some money on new items. Athene's is picked up now for Tokka's. Kindle Gem and the Will of the Ancients finished there for Vlad, plus an extra Ruby Crystal. So going to be going for Spirit Wizard second, it looks like.
And that's a very defensive pickup. In this case, does he? I feel like with the Urgot being behind, you don't really have the luxury of opting into the Spirit Wizard just because your own damage is going to go down, and you're already doing well in trades against the Azir, so it doesn't seem necessary. Turret dive, though.
Yeah, actually, Bonzen could be in trouble. Revolta and Yang here in the top side. Good CC chain. Great ultimate there by the Gragas and Maokai. Even with the ult ticking, very tanky. Not dead, though, and Yang. That's one turret. It's too many. No, it's not.
Those turrets do so much damage, but not quite enough as Morgana's roam.
Oh, that Black Shield was sick. Tokka's does flash out of the way, though, but dodges the Emperor's Divide. Astaroa here in the mid as well, but Azir just escapes near death.
That was a really impressive Black Shield. I guess not that hard an ability to self-cast, but really on point. Seros is ghosted.
Rediving, though. Macau's, though, come in as well. Hook there, just missing from Jockster. And
look at Trist, though. Already has the Infinity Edge. Had to just get away from the potential crit that would actually take his life to go along with the explosive charge damage. And if you got that, yep, you've used the thing.
Yeah, they are going to go in. Bowler thrown out, though. Does hit for the slow there onto Trist. Tokka's going to get Hemo Plagued over. He'll back away. Buster Shot used there as Jockster gets caught out, boxes, and is forced to flash away. And DetonatioN FocusMe still up against their turret, but INTZ, again, just almost reckless aggression at this point.
Exactly, that was a 3v5 coming through. Sion eventually teleports onto the turret. Gragas still hasn't got there. Their siege is definitely pretty good. The wave clear, not wonderful from DetonatioN FocusMe, but you have to respect all the engage options.
Yeah, wave clear coming through means they have to reset the wave and push back again. And Dragon back in 15 seconds means this is a good area for INTZ to be hanging around. And that Tristana at this stage of the game is just impossible to fight, you have to think.
I mean, the Shoshana, exactly. She's the one that if she just gets free reign, whether it's on a single target or on a turret, you're going to explode them very, very quickly. Lucky crit means that even the tanky members, like the likes of the Maokai, have to respect the Tristana damage, and it will only get worse as this game goes on and she starts to scale up in terms of items. Vladimir returning to the mid lane. The other thing is that with Spirit Visage, it's usually in a situation where maybe you're against a Morellonomicon coming through, which was a very possible option coming through from Tokas on the Azir, has gone for the Athenes for comp, just for the selfish mana regen. It means they don't have that healing reduction that he could have easily itemized into.
Yeah, Mikhail, though, going to clear out the Scuttle Crab here. We see DetonatioN FocusMe trying to get position on the Dragon as they clear out a ward in the side as well. But Mikhail actually maybe caught out of position, does juke the binding, so good move there, but the Scuttle Crab down goes to DetonatioN FocusMe, but Yang going to dive in. Seros looks to be the target. Mikhail pops an explosive shot on, but Astaroy now going to get turned around. And Revolta looking good there. Seros jumps in massively, gets hooked by Jockster. Revolta forced to flash away though, and Toka's trying to fight, but he's so low on health around the side, and no one dead yet. Miraculously here as they'll keep fighting in, but good cues there coming out from the Urgot. Yang now has to run as well. Toka's too low, going to poke from the side, and again, nobody dead, but DetonatioN FocusMe might have forced them out.
But actually we saw Astaroth flash ultimate and miss. It went completely sideways. The slow, now only the 30%. If you don't hit that Glacial Prison square on, doesn't really affect the fight. So that's the flash and the ultimate down. Still, no one's healthy enough to actually start this Dragon. You feel like DetonatioN FocusMe, that would have been a one-team fight if they had the better item timings, but just not enough damage coming out from the lineup.
And pretty much everyone races back to shop except Revolta, who takes his red and now runs back, and everyone's going to make a beeline straight for the Dragon, it looks like here as well. Big minion wave in top lane, though, been prepped by DetonatioN FocusMe, and if they can buy some time and get the objective, they might get a tower as well.
So Sion looks like he's pressured. It's going to top. Doesn't have teleport either. So this should be the moment Science shows a free Dragon coming through for DetonatioN FocusMe.
Yeah, they're going to take away the blue buff as well. You have to think it's going to go over to the Urgot, the star 80 carry player for the team, and it does indeed. No Dragon going to get taken out right now, though. Yang, though, in the top lane, they might reconsider. Turret goes down, and Seros going to get aggressed on, but Jockster going to get too low here, but now Azir going to come through. Good damage there with the auto attacks. Revolta now going to come and does get the knockup. Massive cask in there as well. Flayed back into the team, and Mikhail claims it. Hemoplex on top of him, though. The heal comes through and he lives.
Yeah, the heal comes through. Remember, they've traded objectives despite the fact that Sion was hopelessly split towards the top of the map without a teleport. DetonatioN could have just gone straight onto the Dragon. They would have traded it for the outer turret, but would have been an unanswered Dragon, but it looks like they're going to lose both.
Yeah, we'll have to see now as the Dragon is going to get looked at by INTZ, and again, kind of trapped behind their tier 2 in mid means that INTZ will have position, but don't want to pull the trigger. Have a couple wards in the pit, so have vision of it, but not content to really aggressively pick up the second Dragon, which is against how they've been playing for the last 20 minutes, I have to say.
It's a very strange move, but again, I keep shaking my head at this Spirit Visage. There's no damage potential from DetonatioN FocusMe, despite all the excellent CC and the Hemoplague likely to hit onto 5 members with all their initiation options in the Glacial Prison. You just have so much potential of the damage not being there. You usually only see a single target take damage from the Urgot in particular. Auto attacks not really respected on that champion. You need this Vlad to do damage. Maybe you go for the Rylai's for a bit more early utility, or the Abyssal Scepter to big up the damage from the likes of Sejuani and Maokai. But very curious for me to see him go such a defensive build in this particular situation where there's not even that much magic damage. And he's already been able to navigate the Azir with the Spell Vamp for him to really get through.
Yeah, interesting as well, but INTZ do get the Dragon as a result of some regrouping there and some good control around the area. Now looking to rotate down towards the bottom side of the map and take away some towers for themselves. And we've definitely slowed things down a little bit after the massive amount of kills in the first 10 minutes or so. But DetonatioN FocusMe right now is a good pull from Vlad, protects him from the hook. Astaroy going to dive in there, but the turret, actually that's a Sun turret, never mind. Astaroy though, taking too much damage. The Hemoplague's good though. Ultimate almost completed for Morgana as Jockster is forced to flash away. Yang as well has to be careful. The hook lands in onto Bonds, but Yang trapped in the enemy team now, probably going to go down here, trying to fight there as Mikhail gets grabbed as well. The Buster shot comes through, but he will die to Morgana. Yang now dead as well. Will get the trade kill actually with his passive, but it's a 2-for-1 win for DetonatioN FocusMe.
And we saw this same situation in Bangkok Titans versus Besiktas. If you have such a strong front line and your escape on your 80 carry is gated around a first kill, if the first kill never comes, you never get that jump reset. You can't open up the mobility to to navigate these fights, the Tristana falls down. So it's a good team fight for Detonation FocusMe. They just need to pick up the minion waves and start fighting when the objective is actually there to be fought for. Remember, those were team fight wins or just an even team fight after the objective had already gone down for INTZ.
Yeah. Jockster going back now as well. Going to do a bit of shopping. Everyone regrouping actually as Bonzen just reaped a ton of gold in the top side of the map with, again, some good side wave control there from INTZ. They seem to be adept at pushing out these side waves in particular. It's been a hallmark of their play so far in the tournament from the few games we've seen. But again, the gold lead pretty slim here. A couple thousand up here for INTZ coming through, and more items are on the way here. But right now, Detonation FocusMe holding on well. I think the Dragon deficit might be the biggest thing to look for here in the next few minutes.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team comp coming from Detonation FocusMe with the likes of the Urgot in the marksman role to actually expect them to opt into early Dragon control with all their CC, with the Hemoplay being super relevant when you've got set up CC from every other member of the team, but instead finding themselves in a Dragon hole, find themselves a situation which Tristana still able to cultivate what is now only a 25 CS lead. But it's any AD carry in a CS lead against an Urgot is already doing better than expected.
Yeah, and still looking good for Trist, level 11 now, so building up now, does have the rank 2 ultimate to kind of look through the rest of the items. Need to see Large Rod to join the Stinger and the Athenes there for Tockers, and a Warmog's almost completed there for Revolta, so I think a carry choice in some ways here. Obviously very selfish, looking for pure health, and not the traditional carry item we think of, but certainly one that means Revolta can just dive more and make more plays.
When you're in a game like this, Warmogs makes so much sense when you're not really against any big steroids like attack speed and critical strike that demand the likes of Randos. I think going for flat health deals with the two sustained damage options of the Acid Hunters and the Vladimir Harass. So in most situations against a true AD carry, I wouldn't really be a big fan of the early Warmogs, but it's cost-effective, really interacts well with the Cinderhulk, which is basically a death cap for health at this point. And again, you'll have it very soon. And when you're rotating around the map as much as Gragas has been in this game, that passive that comes through when you're out of combat is very relevant to keep yourself topped up on health.
Yeah, helps with Happy Hour there, as well as Yang applying a little bit of pressure here in the top side of the map up against Bonzin, but 20 CS ahead on the side, looking good, building some more tank items there as well. And just a matter of what else can they get. The turret actually going to go down in the bottom there, so it's rotating nicely now, starting to pick up the pace of the game.
But even though there's only a 4,800 gold lead coming close 5,000 in 24 minutes, look at this mini-map in terms of pink wards. Huge pink ward line around the Dragon Pit and the enemy blue. The amount of safe places Detonation FocusMe can go on this map is literally just the creeps hitting their inner turrets. They don't really feel any control on either side of their jungle. Even the Raptors seem like a bridge too far. With their mid-game power spikes and the Vladimir for a bit of late-game insurance, both those factors seem to be irrelevant as the CS holes they're in are only going to get larger.
Yeah, and they're just growing their lead here. Again, it's a fairly slow snowball, but once it starts rolling out of control, very hard to stop. So almost 5k up now for INTZ with the Dragon coming back in a minute 35. You can see a bit of unspent gold there in the mid lane, so want to make sure Tockers can get his shop in before that next Dragon does roll around. But kind of popping down there for Trist, I see quite the item there in Mikhail's inventory. He has a fairly fast Quicksilver Sash.
Maybe he's been looking over to those Japanese scene VODs. Sin, the QSS rushes that come through, but the swap is negated by the QSS we just speak of. But I mean, Udapon, of course, famous for Blade the Ruin King into QSS. We mentioned that on the likes of Callista. In this game, there's so many different CCs for Tristana to respect that with that rapid fire, you just can't auto-attack in a fight when you have to worry about 4 different types of CC. Hell, even the death mark when it comes to split pushing against the likes of Vladimir. It's probably a very smart pickup to go for that QSS. It's still fairly cheap.
No, actually, a box down there as well. Empress Divide going to push them out. Jockster, though, taking too much damage. Bonzen gets credit for the kill, but Sion flanking around the top side as well. Bonzen getting low. Massive damage coming in for Azir, but the Hemo play comes down on top of the Sejuani ult now as well. And Detonation FocusMe, a great team fight.
I mean, the big issue here is that Mikhail hasn't done any damage in this team fight, was completely zoned and will just continue to be.
Yeah, trying to be damaged with the Dark Binding almost hitting in there as well. And Detonation FocusMe fighting back wonderfully here in this game. Might even push in for some turret damage.
It was just a really poor use of the teleport into the unstoppable onslaught coming through from the Sion. Teleported behind, we've already seen the likes of Hecarim really pull off those teleport flank engages. But the issue was that the Tristana wasn't in position. It was still walking to the team fight. Another member of the team died. I believe it was Tockers. Before Tristana even grouped, did so little damage in that fight. The communication certainly not on point between the Brazilian team.
And again, we've seen their strong landing. They've certainly looked good with maybe the mid lane being the big one for DetonatioN FocusMe as far as strong players go. But yeah, these team fights have been honestly all in DetonatioN FocusMe's favor. They've team fought well, they've skirmished well, they've played very well around that AD carry, which I guess is no surprise. And if it continues in this vein, you have to think, with the tanky team comp scaling up here for the Japanese side, that they have a very good shot of another upset here.
I can understand what you're saying, but I feel like look, the power spikes definitely err towards the earlier game outside of the Vladimir. In terms of their vision control, the vision control has been the big hole. Vision control and minion wave control has been the hallmarks of INTZ's play in previous weeks and even in just their loss to the Chiefs. In this situation, there's been so few resources for DetonatioN FocusMe to pick up that they're behind in item timings to a team comp that will eventually outscale them. I mean, INTZ can still have these scattered team fights where, I mean, despite the fact that they have item advantages, they're losing. So there's always the potential that you misfire, but you only misfire enough times as a late game team comp. If you're not really punished, and there's always that potential that DetonatioN FocusMe takes a big objective like the Baron. I mean, starts to get on the Dragon Hunt, starts to push in some turrets, but their Siege's not very strong. And you just feel like certain item timings, maybe the Phantom Dancer towards the last whistle will be hit on the Tristana, and they just have no way to really lock her down now that QSS has already been completed.
And that QSS, you could see it in just the exchange before the pause, honestly, saved her life from the Urgot ultimate pretty much as soon as it was bought. So a very, very good cost-efficient purchase there from the Tristan. If Macau keeps going, and it seems like the snowball's pushing in that direction for INTZ, Tristana could get out of control once again. It's been a while. I
mean, Tristana's not quite that late game force, but she's still very similar, has a little bit less range, so does a lot of damage. We're loading in once again, though. And I feel like the game's still definitely theirs to win, unless DetonatioN can really start to arrest what has been such a strong vision stranglehold. They're backing it at this point, even though there's 3 pink wards in a triangle around the 4 members.
That might see Dragon here, but INTZ look like they might want to fight. Revolta is backing, though, does complete the recall, so DetonatioN FocusMe straight onto the Dragon, and they will be able to get it. You have to think the hook going to come through. They're going to try for a steal, but the smite comes through, and Japan claim their first Dragon.
Even with all the ward coverage, still able to pick up the Dragon. Macau, crucially, hadn't come back from the store and in time to be able to compete for that objective. Get onto the ladder. Suddenly 6% stats for the likes of Vladimir, especially very relevant. Did commit fully to this Spirit Visage build that I can't get behind with the lack of damage. Maokai, Sejuani, and Morgana support, all decent support acts, but all of them do magic damage. If you're going to go for a defensive option, go for a magic resist option, go for Abyssal Scepter, so at least those base values from the aforementioned 3 champions are increased. Going for the Spirit Visage, just super curious to me.
I mean, it's just maybe overly defensive is the best way to characterize it. Is INTZ are getting aggressive. Azir can't really do that much damage to the Spirit Visage Vlad right now, but does have a Zhonya's completed now as well, so playmaking potential there, and you can see when the squishy people are there, Azir does a good amount of damage, and Kazu forced to flash away. Macau getting aggressive in the middle there as well, over to the flank, but Seros gets the first kill onto the support, and Jockster going down.
I just can't even see Tristana. It was just grouped too far back. Felt like she was once again zoned from doing damage despite having all her abilities and ultimate up. INTZ coming through a choke.
Good ulti there coming through. Seros now getting aggressed on, does pull just at the last second after throwing on Hemo Plague, but a great double kill there for Trist after the double knockup from Sion. Gonna get in for a reset as well. Doesn't quite finish off the next kill as Bonzen's forced to flash away, but a 2-for-1 win there for INTZ.
Tristana was looking for a really optimistic critical strike there, would have picked up the kill, then got the reset on the rocket jump. Doesn't get it this time, but you feel like that might be a preview for those late game team fights. They had no way to gap close onto Tristana, just use the QSS to cleanse away or QSS away the big Vladimir ultimate, the Hemo Plate. They're doing this all in true vision, though. Yeah, and Unipon still has his ultimate.
Yeah, nice big ward there in the back, but Tokka's maybe going to bait them in. A good ulti back, gets swapped in over, does not complete, gets knocked up, and Macau gets himself another kill. Now Bonzen going to get hooked up there. The box down as well. Dark Binding going to come through for Kazuma almost, but Azir doing ridiculous damage. Going to look to slay the tree. Can't quite get it done, but INTZ might yet get the Baron.
INTZ already returned to Baron a couple of seconds ago. It's down to 2,000 health. Not really going to be a contest.
Yeah, Asterore coming in. Maybe fancied himself for a steal, but couldn't get in range for the smite. And the Baron does indeed go over to the Brazilians.
And as is fitting for INTZ, look at that minion wave pushing down the bottom lane. It was already crashing onto the inhibitor turret. Their minion wave control has been a highlight of their play, absolutely. But their team fighting and Tokka's, we think of him more for maybe some of the passive play we saw in the earlier game, but the engage play coming through that is possible with the Emperor's Divide was massive in securing them enough pressure to pick up that Baron.
Yeah, good stuff there, and kind of carrying their aggression from the early stages of the laning phase to now around the objectives as well. Did lose the Dragon, which is going to cut off a bit of that snowball now as well, but do have the Baron and a very strong Tristana that now that Phantom Manta, Infinity Edge, Pickaxe, and the QSS are completed. So look for Ints to move around some of these lanes and start to really siege some of these tier 2 turrets.
And honestly, Mikal has multiple options for his third item. You can understand him opting for the Last Whisper because it looks on paper like a very tanky lineup, and certainly there's health that has been built up. There's not a lot of armor picked up just yet by Detonation. Honestly, a Vamp Scepter into a Bloodthirster probably is more damage and will help him navigate fights. Mikal on the Tristana a little bit easier than the Last Whisper, but Last Whisper not a bad purchase, and of course a bit of as Kazu dies.
Good catch there, taking out the Morgana in the top side. Astarorai going to get hooked away. He will move in for the flay. Tower getting low, will fall down as well. Sejuani already dead to Revolta, and that's 2 kills with a Baron buff. Ints are not stopping.
Yeah, there's 3 tanky members that can already just completely ignore turret damage. If they register a pick, they're going to go in.
Yeah, they are looking to maybe go in. Azir looking aggressive, and Yang is so tanky at this stage of the game, just zoning people off left, right, and center. Base will be broken in 30.5 minutes, and they're going to lose an inhibitor top side as well.
Yeah, the turret damage from the Tristana is so high. That's the one thing that's new with the changes on explosive shot. You can just throw it onto a turret, build it up, it'll explode just like it's on a champion, and just explode down turrets. It's one thing she used to do from very safe range with attack speed, but now it's all around her E ability.
And that free hitting just insane there as well. You can see a good wave there in the bottom side going to be in Mikal. Will run down there to take it out. Dragon back in a minute 20 Ints. Maybe going to look for that. As you can see, there's a massive minion wave looking in with so many caster creeps hanging out.
Exactly. It's all caster creeps exclusively now that the turret has taken down the tank. They're going to DPS it down. Another minion wave comes out. Probably not going to be enough damage for Last Whisper, but not going to be far away.
No, and that Dragon up soon. In a minute, actually. So good timing now for Ints to go back, spend some of their gold, take that third Dragon away, and then look to rotate between the mid and bottom side and keep pushing because they do have some Baron buff left. In fact, if I'm looking at that right, that's either almost running out or halfway through.
And look, everybody has a bit of armor, but suddenly Tristana, 3 items and a QSS, now can really get an auto attack range. Doesn't have to respect any of the CCs with the QSS, or at least the first CC that comes away. Look for Mikal to really pop off in the last fight. That's a scary proposition given that she's already got a double kill and been the big and her team's been the big benefactor of her pushing advantage when they broke that top lane inhibitor.
Yeah, 5-1-3 already for the Tristana. And just to inform you that Baron buff was in fact running out as Kazu might look to face check here. Astarorai here as well. Seros also looking, but there's a hook on to Sejuani. Good ult from Revolta, but it's flashed away there from the rest of Detonation. FocusMe. Kazu though going to go down as Mikal's now on a rampage. And this Tristana, the train is not stopping.
That's the first pick. Some of the minion waves, they're not quite pushed up to start sieging, but they're definitely getting there. Tristana bringing up a wave in the bottom lane to push in. Azir pushing in mid. All the global pressure pushing towards Detonation. FocusMe.
Yeah, and even without the Baron buff, with that dropping away, they're still able to apply plenty of pressure around the map here. They've already got the top inhib down. They're working on the other 2 now as well. And Detonation, FocusMe, they're running out of structures to defend.
Absolutely. And our Brazilian representatives Ints are really applying the full court press. That's the way I really looked at this game. They spent so much time camped in the enemy jungle. If I could track just how many Raptor camps, how many golems Detonation FocusMe actually picked up, it'd be really minimal. Mikal, though.
He gets out of the way. They're binding with a rocket jump there, but it looks like Yang dived deep into the enemy team now as well. Blake does go down, does hit onto Mikal, but he's going to QSS it away. Sarah's going to be the next target. He's forced to pull now as well, and Mikal getting low, but everyone else is flashing away. It's a very weird fight on 2 fronts as Tokka's going to get low there. Pops is Johnny is forced to flash, but down the bottom still, Mikal pushing in, Yang taking up the turret, and they'll break the bottom side as well.
Yeah, Mikal crucially had to QSS a non-CC effect against a Morgana, Sejuani, Maokai lineup, Urgot notwithstanding, because she doesn't have any lifesteal. She has to respect the damage coming through from the Hemoplague, so has to use that QSS preemptively. That's not going to be the case for much longer. They'll pick up the Dragon, and then she'll be able to go back, get at least a Vampiric Scepter with the Tristana. suddenly able to hold that QSS more judiciously. I expect Tristana to go off massively in the next fight.
Yeah, Dragon does go down, so that's the third coming to for INTZ. I have to think it probably should have been the fourth here, but at this stage of the game, probably doesn't matter too much. Baron back in a minute 40. So much pressure being applied to lanes from pretty much all fronts here. And INTZ, this is sort of more of what we expected here. Couldn't do it in their last encounter with the Chiefs today, but had a great showing as far as objective and side wave control goes. This, when their game plan gets going, a much more streamlined version, and the reason why so many teams are scared to play them.
And you can see that the CS advantages, they're both reflective of mechanical advantages, but also just the game plan of INTZ pushing out all the lanes, causing all the map pressure. Every lane winning in CS, 50 CS, 50 CS in top and mid, and the 80 carry all about 60, all about the same. Honestly, all three carries super ahead of their lane opponents. Mikau's going to go bring up another minion wave. Of course they've got a minion wave pushing in top because it's still a super minion wave. There's just been so little time for DetonatioN to just pick up what they've got and just pick up some resources and farm, reset from what has been relentless pressure from the Brazilian team.
Yeah, and it's not letting up here. 12,000 gold and counting now the lead for INTZ. They're not closing out this game in any quiet fashion, getting so aggressive here. Revolta's got about 4,000 health on the Gragas. Sion is ridiculously tanky as well, sitting about 3,500. This inhibitor is going to get defended admirably by DetonatioN FocusMe, but it will just not last here. And Seros won't last either. It's just started attacking him.
Well, the Sand Soldier's set up, but this could be the fight.
Are going to go in potentially. Sand Soldier's going to move out of the way. Bonson diving into the back there, but Revolta going to peel off. There's the ulti coming through onto Tokatable Urgo, but the first kill comes through from Mikau. Double kill there coming through as well. Unipongo might be jumped in. There's a dribble for the Trist. Maybe make it a quadra. Did she get it? Does get it, but Azir took the other one. Pent did a 9, but that might be game.
Still a massive quadra kill. 10-1-4 is no slouch of a scoreline. The inhibitor respawns in top, but it's not even a footnote on this game, and INTZ, they roll over DetonatioN FocusMe and get that first victory.
Yeah,
they so crave.
Pick up their win 1-1 on the day here. DetonatioN FocusMe. No victories yet today, unfortunately 0-2 for the record, but a strong performance there from the Brazilians, and I have to say, that sort of very clean play, they ended that game swiftly once they had control of it, and other teams take note. That is the scary team we thought was showing up to this tournament.
I guess they've had their mulligan game against the Chiefs because they definitely picked themselves up from that, had a team talk, and came out and played the clean, aggressive League of Legends that we expected. Honestly, at the early game, there were a couple of signs of that kind of rust, of that kind of over-aggressive play. Some of those turret dives were just plain nutty from me, pastry time. But they adapted, they evolved, and they took the game out and never looked like losers.
Yeah, strong stuff, and great to see Tristana making an